Remember the days of yore, all the way back in October of 2020, when Joe Biden's on the campaign trail and he says he's not a fan of court packing? Yeah, those days are long gone. Those days are long gone. Here's an article from back on October 14th of 2020. Biden says he's not a fan of court packing and that he doesn't want to make the election about that issue. Gee, I wonder why. Let's talk about it. I'm Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. I'm a lawyer, but I'm also a legal and political commentator here on YouTube. If you like that stuff, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Don't miss any videos. Okay, here we go. Joe Biden, back in 2020, of course, saying, I want to keep focused. The president would love nothing better than to fight about whether or not I would, in fact, pack the court or not pack the court. Well, let's take a look at where that's going. How it started, how it's going. President Biden to sign executive order creating the Presidential Commission on the Supreme Court of the United States. This was just on April 9th, a couple days ago. It says Biden will today issue an executive order forming the Presidential Commission on the Supreme Court of the United States, comprised of a bipartisan group of experts on the court and the court reform debate. Court reform. Reforming the Supreme Court. What could that be? Let's read on, right? In addition to legal and other scholars, the commissioners include former federal judges and practitioners who have appeared before the court, as well as advocates of the reform of democratic institutions and of the administration of justice. The expertise represented on the commission includes constitutional law, history, and political science. Oh, that sounds very nice. I remember that section of the Constitution where the executive branch gets to decide how the judicial branch works. Don't you guys remember that? It's in Article something. The commission's purpose is to provide an analysis of the principal arguments in the contemporary public debate for and against Supreme Court reform, including an appraisal of the merits and legality of particular reform proposals. The topics it will examine include the genesis of the reform debate. So they're going to talk about where the reform debate started. That's their first, well, before we can enter into this debate, let's talk about where the debate started. The court's role in the constitutional system. Oh, are they gonna embrace they're gonna overturn Marbury versus Madison now? Because if you remember, like judicial review and determination of constitutionality, it's not really explicitly in Article 3 of the Constitution. They took that power under Marbury versus Madison, and some people suggest that power was intended, that power was the intended result of the Constitution itself. But other people have suggested otherwise and said that's not laid out in Article 3 at all, that the court gets to determine what is and isn't constitutional. So that's an interesting question. I'm sure that's what they're looking to do there. I mean, that would throw a pretty big monkey wrench in our system at this point, because we would be throwing out precedent. Anyway, the length of service and turnover of justices on the court. This is something that is directly controlled by the Constitution. Lifetime appointments. That's what they got. You may not like them, but that's what they got. And if you want to undo it, you're going to have a constitutional amendment. These things are kind of looking like really, really big questions that the executive branch is not equipped to take on. But what about this next one? The membership and size of the court. There it is. Court packing. This is the one area out of all of them where the executive has maximum power, because Joe Biden has the ability to nominate for appointment as many Supreme Court justices as he wants. And the only thing controlling the amount of justices on the court is the Judiciary Act. Now, the Judiciary Act hasn't really been fully tested against this question. There's an open question as to whether or not Joe Biden right now could appoint a 10th Supreme Court justice. The Judiciary Act says no, but the Judiciary Act may be an impermissible limit from Congress placed on the judicial branch and the executive branch, because Congress is limiting the judiciary's power to have more than 9 judges. Congress is similarly limiting the executive's power to appoint more than 9 judges. And that may not be constitutional. It hasn't really been tested in this particular way. And so there's a school of thought out there that Joe Biden could just go out and start appointing judges and judges and judges. And if Congress can't pass a bill, maybe they can approve a justice. And if they do approve a justice, who is appointed by the president, that guy goes to take his seat. What do they say? No, the Judiciary Act says you can't do that. Now we're into a crisis. Does the Constitution allow this? We don't actually know. The membership and size of the court is the big question for the executive here, because the last one is, and the court's case selection rules and practices. Now, this is, again, way outside the purview of the executive. The court sets its case selection. The court writes its rules, and what rules that the court doesn't write for itself are written by the legislature. This is outside of the executive's purview in general. So my thought on it, and maybe yours is different, but my thought on this is really about, can Biden pack the court? Can we make an argument to appoint more justices? Because they are terrified of how the Supreme Court has been ruling on issues that are critical to Joe Biden's administration. Now, they're not ruling on Biden issues yet. They're ruling on state issues that have come up and filtered up through the courts, right? Like, federal courts have ruled on Biden's issues, but they have not really gone to the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court did Biden a solid. They stayed out of the election of 2020. They completely passed on hearing any meaningful cases on it. And that's something that is just that's a reality now. However, how they've been ruling on other issues, particularly around lockdowns and religious freedom, has not been encouraging for the Biden administration, who seems to have an authoritarian streak to their approach to the quarantine and to all of that stuff. I think they're looking at this court, which is, by the way, routinely overruling Chief Justice Roberts. We've got a five conservative majority that doesn't include Roberts, the flip-flop. And so Biden has got to be terrified about how any of his policies are going to be measured against the Supreme Court. The obvious example is to start appointing more judges and to outweigh the evil, conservative, outdated, originalist strain of thinking and get into a new, friendlier, progressive method. That is the obvious strategy here. That's what I think this commission is all about. Why don't you guys tell me down in the comment section what you think this issue is about? Because I can't see it going another way than just simply saying, look, let's just pack the court. And this is obvious, right? This is why he was dodging the question the entire time on the campaign trail. It's why he didn't want to talk about it anywhere, because Joe Biden knew, especially once Amy Coney Barrett got on the court, that he was going to have to do something if he wanted to have the ability to have all three branches of government be complicit. And he didn't have that. He doesn't have that. The judiciary is the only conservative holdout right now. And they're not even that conservative, but even that amount that they are is far, far too much for this administration. So, like I said, let me know down in the comments what you think. Until next time, Pack and Joe's gotta go. Peace. Peace.